With the advent of AI, with the advent of technology and technology-assisted communication, what you see is that everyone is starting to become and sound the same. So their content is the same, and what they've lost in doing that is connection. And that requires, real interaction between human beings. And I think that's the one aspect of sales and marketing and relationship building that AI will never be able to replace. When I first started, the general technique for sales at that time was the hard press, the hard push. You gotta buy this, it's now or never, your life is gonna be terrible. It never felt right for me.
On the global stage, he has now trained over 64,000 professionals and world-class speakers.
How many of you want to be more fulfilled? The sales strategies, the communication strategies that I'm going to share with you today, they're more than just business.
Dr. Dennis Cummins is a master of one-to-many influence. He's the man behind the curtain for some of the most influential category kings in the industry. He specializes in turning public speaking from a source of anxiety into high-octane business development tool. He's here to talk about the mechanics of scale, the invitational selling framework, and how you can stop being a technician and start being a leader that commands the room.
My upcoming book is called Invitational Selling, and it's based on 3 core concepts: connect, convey, convert.
About invitational selling, and you refer to bracelet from your daughter.
The story of the bracelets, my daughter Lauren, unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 17 about 10 years ago. Lauren had a brain tumor from the age of 2. She had been through 4 courses of chemotherapy. She had been partially paralyzed on half her body because of the tumor. She had gone through radiation treatment, would have every right in the world to be miserable and to be sad all the time. But she wasn't. She was happy.
Dr. Dennis Cummins, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nav. Appreciate it.
Where do you think speaking it helps to build that trust, that one person speaking on a stage, it influences the audience more than the millions watching on the ad on the TV? How do you think it's valuable, and why this strategy is bigger than anything else?
Talked about, building trust and how important trust is in everything. And now, with the advent of AI, with the advent of technology and technology-assisted communication, what you see is that everyone is starting to become and sound the same because they're all using the same prompts and they're all generating ChatGPT amalgams of information. So their content is the same. And what they've lost in doing that is connection. We could talk about the age of AI, Nev, but I can say with almost 100% certainty, there's always an option, maybe something didn't happen. Getting in front of a group of people and speaking to them, in my experience, in the experience of the thousands of clients and customers that I've worked with, has always outperformed digital marketing or social media or advertising or mail marketing, any other type of marketing in terms of conversion and close. The reason for that is because it gives you an ability to truly connect with the people that you're talking with. Like, they see you, they get a feel for who you are. By the way, I just want to clear something up for everybody in the audience as well as you, Neb. When we're talking about speaking, and we're not just talking about speaking from a stage, and I am absolutely not talking about being a keynote speaker. What I'm talking about is using speaking as a tool, as a marketing strategy to really get your message out there in a way that people can receive it. And that might be on a stage, which is amazingly effective.
Yeah.
But it could also be on a webinar. It could be on a Zoom call. It could be in a small conference room. It could be in a boardroom. And it even could be with your own family. When we're talking about using speaking as that tool, I'm not limiting it to where you speak. In any environment that you can use this tool, it is probably one of the most effective strategies. Not probably. It is the most effective strategy.
And authentic too, as like in the world of AI, 90%. I mean, I read a study before 2025 that by end of 25, 90% of the content will be created by AI. I don't have a proof after 2025, but I'm sure it could be more.
You've heard this expression. I know you have, because we've had discussions. People like to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
And it brings us back to that trust part, right?
Yes.
We no longer know what to trust. When we're dealing with AI, we don't know, is this just some computer-generated message designed to cause me to do something? Or can I really trust the actions and the person behind it? And getting in front of a camera and speaking. Now, just to be clear, right now, this is real. You and I are in a room together and we're creating a relationship and we're creating a connection. My upcoming book is called Invitational Selling, and it's based on 3 core concepts: connect, convey, convert, which is super simple. But the first part is that connection part, and that requires, real interaction between human beings. And I think that's the one aspect of sales and marketing and relationship building that AI will never be able to replace.
What you said is that educating your audience and then conversion come in the end. This is the great point. Even marketing strategy works the same way. And absolutely, you are actually using that framework, elevate the marketing even to the higher level. And that's what the data point I also have. 80% of buyers these days won't even talk to salesperson until they have already decided who the authority is. And who is the authority? People who are showing their knowledge, information, and they know what they're talking, and they endorse it from their own trust, influencing it. If you are not the face or the voice of your industry, are you effectively invisible to 90% of your potential market? And that's what you're saying. Be in front of people. Otherwise, because people here, but I said like 81% of buyers won't even talk to salespeople. What does it mean? You're hidden from majority of your audience because people want to talk to who have built trust, who have voice, who have reputation. And that's also applicable on business brands. But again, there are people who are representing business.
They're the best secret and no one knows about them. Like, they're amazing people that I work with each and every day, including yourself. You've got amazing skills and talents on systemizing and automation and being able to analyze data within corporations, which is phenomenal. But there are other people that are great with relationship building. There are people great with sales and marketing strategies, or there's great people with graphic design. And they're amazing at what they do, but no one knows about it, because they get lost in the mix. Over 8 billion people on the planet right now. I guarantee you there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that do what you do. The distinction is, how is it that you do it different? What is different about the way that you deliver it? And I really believe that each and every one of us, we have uniqueness to us based on our past experience, based on our past education, based on our past relationships, based on our past successes and failures. We've got a unique perspective on how we deliver that information. In an older book I wrote years ago, I wrote, nothing in this book is original. There's only 6 or 7 original ideas and concepts in history. There's only 6 that we talk about, right? But we repackage that. But when we add our experience on top of that, when we add our uniqueness, and when we add that authentic communication and connection there, that's what makes it new and different. That's why you can have the same underlying piece of information, because there's really not a lot of new things to be said out there. But when you add your experience on top of it, it makes it more approachable for people. And it makes it more understandable.
I like the line, nothing in this book is original. I'm feeling the power of that one sentence already. It makes the whole book original. See, that's what we know what to speak, when to speak, where to speak.
Right.
That was the right, I see it very powerful sentence, like acknowledging the reality. That is how we build trust. And trust is among top 5 preferences buyers do see today before making any decision. Trust is among top 5. Convenience, budget, the value, the quality, everything comes alongside.
And with the advent of technology, buyers have become much more sophisticated. They're able to distinguish between, junk and greatness immediately. And they're able to distinguish whether or not I believe in those results or this is just hype or a scam. The way you separate yourself from that amalgam of communication, that amalgam of marketing that's out there, is through that communication side.
Warren Buffett once said, speaking is one of the greatest information he acquired.
I love that quote.
And the degree he earned. And he also said anyone can improve on their brand equity by 50% just by learning how to speak.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. Speaking is more, we're talking a little bit, my background is in sales communication. So I'm talking about, designing promotional messaging. How do you take your product, your service, or your idea and how do you get other people to buy into that or actually buy it if it's a product or service. But when we're talking about when Warren Buffett is talking about, he says it's one of the greatest investments he's ever made is in himself and in the speaking part. It's not just about selling stuff with speaking, right? Because we communicate our ideas. We get other people to join us in our mission and in our vision. And if you can clearly state what your mission and vision is, it makes it more likely that people will willingly and of their own volition choose to follow you. That's the concept of invitational selling. I'm not trying to push anything on you. I'm just inviting you in and let you make the decision. And it's a very empowering philosophy. That's a radical shift in the way most sales people approach it.
You're supporting a lot on invitational selling, and that makes sense. I agree with your thoughts and your terminology. Let us discuss more about it. Like, what is it and how anyone can learn that? And what is different in this?
When I first became a speaker, before speaking, I was a chiropractor. I ran 2 successful chiropractors in New York for about 23 years.
And you're back in the coaching business.
In the coaching and speaking business and consulting. Part of it is I just realized, after 23 years, I had an opportunity to speak to a group of people. I always loved taking courses and programs and listening to other speakers. We look to other speakers as thought leaders, and they're very empowering. And so I always wanted to learn more. I always wanted to grow. And at one of them, I did a presentation at one of the ones that I was attending. And the gentleman that owned the company, one of the largest personal professional development companies in the world right now, asked me, hey, said, did you ever think of working for us? And I was like, well, no, but maybe I'll give it a go, right? So I went from never having spoken or used speaking, aside from with my clients.
That's a totally different pivot.
It is a tremendously different pivot, but I was always interacting with my clients. But their model was selling from the stage. You got up, you presented amazing information. And I knew it was because I had taken all of those courses and it had changed my life. It had really made a tremendous impact. The goal was you deliver some amazing information and then you sell additional courses to those people so that they would. And when I started, I was just awful at it because I was stiff. And here's the other thing that was really important. I was very inauthentic because I tried to be like my mentors. And I think that's a big problem that people make is that we look up to people and we're like, oh, I want to be like that guy or I want to be like this guy. But you need to be like the guy in your own skin right now.
Exactly.
And it took me about 1.5 years, 2 years to realize that. And once I realized that, hey, I could just be Dennis. When I'm Dennis on and off stage, it's the same guy. We've spoken before. It's the same stuff. I talk about the same things all the time.
Right.
So it's that authentic part of it. But here's the other part. When I first started, the general technique for sales at that time was the hard press, the hard push. You got to buy this. It's right now. There's a limited supply. It's now or never. You've got to do it. If you don't do it, your life is going to be terrible. And it never felt right for me.
That creates resistance too in buyer's mind. Creating FOMO, it's a strategy, but again, it doesn't work every time.
It is a strategy. And here's the other thing. You can get people to buy by doing that. They'll do it, but then they have buyer's remorse. Your cancellation rates are through the roof.
Right.
And so, you might have great numbers, but then, 50% of them cancel as soon as the pressure's off. I just never liked that. I never used it in my chiropractic practices when I was explaining people's care plans to them. And I didn't like it from the stage, but it was all I knew. I had never spoken before. These were my mentors. These were the gurus in the industry. And I tried to do what they did. And there was something that didn't work for me. So I decided I was going to do something different. It is something that I had been doing for years. And instead of pushing people to do it, I just explained, hey, listen, here's what this has done for me. This is what it can do for you. What's going on in your mind that's causing you to slow down? And explaining it in a way that made moving forward the clear decision. But the difference was I wasn't telling them to decide. I was allowing them to decide. And with that, I will tell you, number one, my sales numbers dropped at the events because when you don't push people, fewer people will move forward. But I will tell you, my cancellation rates almost went to zero.
Yeah.
So yes, I may have sold to fewer people at the event, but everyone that bought kept it. And it was because they were empowered. and they were able to make the decision for themselves. And when you allow people to do that, when they're the ones that made the decision, well, then they keep it because it was their decision, not because I got pressured into it or I got forced into it or I got shamed into it, which is very common in the sales industry too. And none of those tactics, I think, are ethical. I don't even think they're good for the person using them or the person subject to them. There's a husband and a wife. It looks like they have a couple small kids, and she would go up and she'd say, "Hi, well, my name's Lauren. I make these bead bracelets. They're stars, butterflies, and hearts. I put love, energy, and power in every bead. They're $10 each," which is my favorite line in the world. Would you like one?
Yeah, would you buy one?
It wasn't, would you buy one? Some people said yes, and many of them did. In 15 minutes, she sold all of her bracelets, and she had $85 in her pocket. Some people said no, and she was like, "That's okay," and she would give them one anyway.
How technology works, you create connection first between two computers and then only can transfer your data. It's the same analogy, like it's even more important because it works directly from your mind and it's emotional connection.
And I love what you just said, because you said first you create the connection, right? And then you convey, and you did this, that back and forth. When I talk about convey, it's not me conveying my information to you. It's both of us conveying information to one another. It's that conversation that we're creating. So I'm not just telling you all about Dennis.
Everyone has a different personality, different behavior, different way to explain things. And there is no one shoe fits all kind of a thing, right? Speaking is not a cup of tea for everybody, but many people freak out when they go in front of public. Stage fright, imposter syndrome.
Oh, sure.
They know a lot, but they cannot convey. How to sense when there are gaps in their situation they want to do, but they can't because of XYZ reasons, and how the frameworks that we're talking about that can help getting there.
To do this doesn't require you to be on stage or in front of people at all. And it doesn't even require you to be on a webinar or a Zoom call with 5 or 10 or 20 people at all. What I'm talking about is something that can happen between two people in the normal conversations that you have every day. And yes, there are some lists that rank speaking as the #1 fear in the world.
You mentioned the 3 stages in this framework. You want to talk about a little bit in more detail, like how to structure the speech or the presentation using this?
Well, there's a lot of pieces there now, but I'm happy to jump in. So in the book, Invitational Selling, now this is about how, as not just someone who's a business owner. So it's really designed for the business owners or people who have a product or a service that they would like to sell or convey. Or perhaps it's a company that wants to build a better culture. There are large issues where companies are having challenges with developing culture within their organization. Some people want to stay home. The company wants them to come in. There's a lot of turnover because they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel seen. That's a communication issue. And that communication involves conveying why it's good for me, you want me to do. And if I understand that, if I understand what's in it for me, if I understand that there's a common goal that we are both desire to achieve together, then I'm more willing to follow through. And that invitational selling is about all of that, not just sales. It's also about culture building. It's about leadership communication. So we talk about the 3 phases in the book, or connect, and then convey, and then convert. And here's what I mean by that. The connection part is very similar to what we're doing right now. Have an honest conversation with somebody. Like, how about starting with hello, right? Instead of, "Hey, my name's Dennis. Here's my card. Please buy my stuff." Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that.
They want to feel seen, and they want to feel that you understand them. So in my sales program, in my speaking programs that I teach, if I do a 3-day program, we spend the entire first day on the first 5 minutes of a presentation. And people are freaking out when they do it.
That's the toughest part.
We have to write a whole presentation. We're only like the first 4 minutes, 5 minutes in. What's going on? Then it's like, trust me, that opening, the way you say hi to people matters.
Yes.
It gives them a chance to feel, number one, they're in the right place.
Yeah.
And number 2, that you understand them. And finally, even more importantly, Nav, that you see them.
Right.
right? Because people want to feel seen. They want to feel like they're important. There are a number of speakers that I know, like I'm a part of the National Speakers Association, and I have a lot of colleagues that are speakers. And when they get on the stage, they're the star. They're the superstar, and everything's about them. And, oh, lordy-dody, it's not about them.
Yeah.
It's about who you're serving. Every time that I get up on stage, if we have time later, I'd love to share a story about these bracelets. But my daughter made these bead bracelets that she put love, energy, and power in them. And every time before I get on stage, either wear it or it's in my bag and it's right near me, but it reminds me of why I'm there. I'm not on stage to be the star. I'm on stage to be of service. So how can I help the people that are going to listen to me, that are going to spend their valuable time that they could choose anything else to do with? How do I honor that by sharing with them something that can help make their lives a little bit better?
Right.
And I believe that each and every one of us, Nav, I believe we all have gifts to share. We all have something unique, a product, a service, an ability. We've got a skill that we can share with others. I also think that when we don't share that well, we cause suffering because we don't talk about it well, because we don't explain it well enough. People can't take advantage of it, or they shoo it off right away.
People don't connect.
They don't connect.
Yeah, they
And
don't
when
want
you
to be
don't
sold.
connect, you can't help them.
Yeah.
And that's our fault.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten good at explaining what we do. And that goes for businesses, it goes for leaders, it goes for corporate cultures, it goes for families, and it goes for friends.
That's giving me example of like how technology works. You create connection first between two computers and then only can transfer your data.
Right.
It's the same analogy. Like it's even more important because it works directly from your mind and it's emotional connection.
Right. And I love what you just said, because you said first you create the connection, right? And then you convey, and you did this, that back and forth. So when I say convey, when I talk about convey, it's not me conveying my information to you. It's both of us conveying information to one another, right? It's that conversation that we're creating. So I'm not just telling you all about Dennis. I also want to know about Nav. And I want to know hey, Nev, what's going on for you? Where are you having successes? Fantastic. Can I help make them better? Where are you having challenges? Can I help with that? Or perhaps maybe there's even a way that you can help me. And that's what that convey part of that is. And then once you've established your connection, you've built that rapport, then you've exchanged information. And that's the part where I explain to you a little bit about what I have to offer. And you explain to me a little bit about what you need. And I always want to make sure that my offering is matched to what your needs are, if I have it. And that other part is, if it's not me, well, then I want to send you to the other guy who can deliver what you've got, because it's all about creating a great relationship and serving your clients. And then the last part is the convert. And that's not me converting you. That's allowing you to convert yourself, to make that decision. That's where the invitation comes in. What would you like to do next? Or what's the next, how would you like to, how does that sound? And they're like, great. And then I don't say another word. And then I go, do you have any questions? And inevitably, their answer is,
How to sign up?
how do I work with you? How do I sign up? But it's not me going, hey, listen, I'm really busy. Nav, I can only take one new client for the next 6 months. I've got 3 other people waiting for me, that fear of missing out. If you don't sign up now, there may not be any spots left. So now, it's not like that. It's like, listen, I know my value. And by the time you've really connected well and conveyed your value well, the next part becomes so easy, because it's just let them make the decision that they obviously know is the best one for them.
200% agree what you're saying, Dennis. Data has proven every time when communication is personalized, it always outperforms. It's at least 25% higher chance of conversion if it is personalized. But
Say it,
that
please.
minimum, I would rather say it like it's over 75% chance that.
Now, here's the really interesting thing. You could have an amazing product, but if you are terrible at explaining its value to your potential clients and your prospects, you're not going to do well.
Yeah.
You could have a horrible product, but if you're really great at explaining, you're going to sell it and you're going to do well. The ideal is have a great product, provide a lot of value, get really good at explaining how it helps people and how you can help them.
Yeah, that reminds me of Steve Jobs. Apple products are not the best products in the world. But again, people have trust on it. The way he attached value to your customers, that's awesome.
Number one, he creates a unique, stellar customer experience, even the way things are boxed and packaged.
Mm.
But how did he launch every new product?
Yeah,
Speaking from the stage,
yeah,
getting in front of people. And he didn't just share what it does, he shared what it did for you,
what it did for you.
right?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
will this change my life? And
Yes.
that's the important part. And that's what most people miss, by the way, is they start talking about the features instead of the benefits. So
Yes.
when you're conveying that information and when you're presenting your offers to people, like, yeah, it's important to say what you're going to do with them. It's even more important. It's
Yeah,
significantly more important in my mind to talk about what it's going to do for them. How is it going
right.
to make their life easier, better, faster, cheaper? But you've got to focus on those benefits.
Yeah. He kind of created like a global movement on product launches
You did.
events, right?
You
And
did.
it's no longer just a product launch. It's like
Right.
a celebration and attaching to customers. Yeah. About invitational selling, and you refer to bracelet from your daughter. You want to share more about it?
I've sort of had this philosophy, the way that I like to sell. And by the way, I think we all sort of feel sometimes that that's the way we like to be sold too. Many of you have had experience, you too know, where if people are all over you, your immediate result is like, stay back.
Yeah, it's a rejection up
It-
front. Even if we talk for next 15 minutes, the decision is already
Right.
made.
But starting softly. So the story of the bracelets, my daughter Lauren, unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 17 about 10 years ago.
That's sad.
Lauren had a brain tumor from the age of 2. She was an amazing child, though. She was absolutely like she was that spirit on earth where, and I know that I'm the proud papa, but everyone said this about her. She was truly like a spirit sent down from the heavens. All she wanted to do was make people happy. She had been through 4 courses of chemotherapy. She had been partially paralyzed on half her body because of the tumor. She had gone through radiation treatment. She was hospitalized for 6 months, during which she had undergone 24 individual brain surgeries.
Hard.
I mean, anyone would have every right in the
Little
world
kid.
for a little kid, anyone, kid or adult, would have every right in the world to be miserable
Yeah.
and to be sad all the time. She was happy. She was joyful all the time. It's like she was like a happiness vending machine. You said hi and happiness came out of her. And all she wanted to do is make people happy. But one thing she could do, she could make bead bracelets just like these. And they're stars, butterflies, and hearts. And Lauren said, I didn't make this up. She said, I put love, energy, and power in every bead. And what she did is she mostly gave them away. She would just love to hand them to people. And for her, it was all about, hi, what's your name? Do you have a wife? Do you have any children? Do you have any daughters? What are their names? And then she would give bracelets away a lot. But every once in a while, she would sell them. Now, the bracelets are, a couple of beads and a piece of string, 25 cents. But she sold them for $10. And this is what she would do. One day we were at the beach. It was in the middle of summer, blazing hot day. And my son and my daughter are very entrepreneurial. My son decided that he and his friend are going to go up on the boardwalk and they're going to sell seashells that they've painted with American flags. It's 4th of July. And they're going to sell those up on the boardwalk. My daughter Lauren says, Dad, can I go sell these bracelets? And I was like, sure. So she grabs my elbow and we just walk along the beach. And then I would tell her what was coming up. So for me, I was Lauren's AI at the time, right? Because I think there's a use for AI even in sales, and it's in the research part. Like use AI for the research, but not the connection part, right?
Not to
So,
replace you.
so for Lauren, I would give her the information because she couldn't see. She was able to walk at the time, but she didn't know what was coming around. So I would say, there's a husband and a wife. It looks like they have a couple small kids. And she would go up and she'd say, hi. And she'd go, she'd do a little rapport building. And she goes, well, my name's Lauren. And she said, I make these bead bracelets. They're stars, butterflies, and hearts. I put love, energy, and power in every bead. They're $10 each, which is my favorite line in the world. How many would you like? It wasn't like, would you like one?
Yeah, would you buy one?
It wasn't, would you buy one?
Yeah.
And, some people said yes, and many of them did. In 15 minutes, she sold all of her bracelets, and she had $85 in her pocket. Apparently, there's a multi-bracelet discount for some people. Some people said no, and she was like, that's okay. And she would give them one anyway. Like for Lauren, it was about the connection, not the sale. The sale was secondary, and then after she made all the money, what she did, we had 10 cousins on the beach that day. She bought them all ice cream with her money. Like, it wasn't about the money for Lauren. It was about the connection. And that was such a valuable lesson for me to realize and remember that, just connect with people. Just let them feel that you really give a crap about them and that you understand their needs. And that requires you to be curious. People are like, listen, I'm so focused on me selling my stuff to you. Like, I forget that you're here too. It's so important that we be curious about one another and find out what those needs are and how can I serve you? How can I help you? Just care.
Right.
And that's that connect part. And the way you do that is you share that information. You share your experiences. You share your stories. You share your successes, and not just successes like, hey, here's me getting on my Cessna. And as soon as I land, I'm going to pull out, I'm going to walk over to my Ferrari.
Yeah.
All right, that's wonderful. That's great. Good for you. How about sharing the struggle
Nobody
so
should.
that I can relate to you as another human being? This is the summary. This is the high level of the stuff, but there's a lot of little pieces that go into being clear and focused enough about having that conversation
You're right.
and about having the right mindset going into the conversation.
First of all, yes, sorry to hear loss about the data. And yeah, when you were telling the story, I was literally like feeling that energy and chills in me. I mean, it was so like very powerful story.
Yeah, for both of us, right?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It's
And at
inspiring.
times when I tell it, I still tear up. I miss her every day, but I am so thrilled that I can celebrate the lessons learned, the lesson about having, and for Lauren, the value wasn't the value of our value is not the thing, the bracelet. The value of the bracelet is 25 cents. The value is what that
Purpose with it.
thing represents.
Yeah. It has meaning, it has purpose, it has reference to something great.
This is what we need to do as human beings and as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as corporations, as companies, as families. We need to start to connect absolutely with 100% have clarity about our value and then
Absolutely.
be able to say it, to be able to convey that. And that's the speaking part of what we're all talking about.
From that matter, you took the Cessna and Ferrari reference. I mean, of course, there is something that worked for that guy or gal, but not everyone, like Sam, not everyone has by design an outgoing person, a speaker, or a conveyor. Everyone has a different personality,
Exactly.
okay? Different behavior, different way to explain things. And there is no one shoe fits all kind of a thing, right? Speaking is not a cup of tea for everybody. But as we discussed,
I'm going to disagree with that. Everyone speaks.
that's what I'm getting to, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, but again, like what I mean by saying that is not everyone is by default meant to speak. Many people freak out when they go in front of public. Stage fright, imposter syndrome.
Oh,
They
sure.
know a lot, but they cannot convey. How to sense when there are gaps in their situation they want to do, but they can't because of XYZ reasons, and how the frameworks that we're talking about that can help getting there.
Two things, Nav, and I just want to be clear. To do this doesn't require you to be on stage or in front of people at all. And it doesn't even require you to be on a webinar or a Zoom call with 5 or 10 or 20 people at all. What I'm talking about is something that can happen between two people in the normal conversations that you have every day. And yes, there are some lists that rank speaking as the number one fear in the world that people have.
Yeah.
Which means at a funeral, most people would rather be the person giving in the box than the person giving the eulogy, which is like a weird thing. But,
Yeah, that's funny, and yeah, maybe true as well. Yeah, I mean, it's near-death experience on stage. People who
for
can't
some
get there.
people, for sure, I get that.
Right. Yeah. So I want to mention one thing from my experience. I'm not a stage-going person a lot. Okay, I do go, but not like a pro way. Okay, but you mentioned like it's not. It doesn't have to be on stage. It could be. It doesn't have to be webinar. It could be just one-on-one speaking like this.
Which we're doing.
Yeah.
You're doing phenomenal.
But
You're great at it.
But when I was first in front of camera in my own room, nobody watching, I freaked out. Sometimes person is not ready to talk to the mass public or things like camera. We all are trained to talk to people one-on-one or small groups. That is what, like in families or in friend circle or someone we know at least. Not everyone can talk to strangers. especially at mass.
How are you communicating with the person you're with? Are you communicating in a way that they can understand? And that's a critical element. Like, how you say something really does matter.
We talked about connect, convey. How about convert? So what is the right time to convert? What is that moment of truth?
The convert part is we're talking about decision time. When your customer, when the client, when the person on the other end of your interaction is ready to make that decision. You know, if you're a customer, you may have had dozens and dozens of options on how you wanted to move forward. Now you have to decide. Are you going to go from one of those, or you're going to convert your decision? You're going to decide to go with me. I can help because this is my experience. What do you want to do? Ta-da! That's it. It's like so amazingly simple. It takes the pressure off of everybody. I mean, the seller and the buyer. And it just allows this to happen organically and naturally. And you'll see that your conversion rates actually go up with this system.
How you tell the story matters more than what the story is.
The stories that you choose to tell are important too. Like, you know, when I did that 3-day program, remember I said the first day is all about that first 5 minutes? Well, a large part of the rest is what stories are you going to include? The big part is that storytelling. People always tell me, like, I have a lot of great stories. Well, the good news is I have a lot of great stories. The bad news is I earned those stories.
You want to refer to any name or two, what the frameworks are?
Talking about, like, you know, what do you do? The really simple thing is, number one, you know, that open strong. The second part in the middle is, remember this, you don't need to overspeak. Less is more. The third thing, focus on benefits.
How to practice? Is there a methodology to practice? Are there tools available for that?
Oh, there's lots of tools out there. You know, everybody says practice makes perfect, but it doesn't. Practice makes permanent. Whatever you practice, you just get good at doing that. And if you got showed the wrong way and you do it the wrong way, you get really good at doing the wrong way. You just said something that was really, really awesome. You said, we've been trained to speak with people. The key word there is trained. We've been trained to speak with people.
Yeah.
So if you want to get better at speaking to larger groups of people, well, then that's going to require some training too. That's why was something I said a while ago when we started our conversation. When I started, I sucked. I was awful. It was robotic. It was uncomfortable. And I tell you, I sweat. Like, nobody comes out of the womb. They're not born. They come out and they're like, tradition, I'm a speaker. Nobody comes out like that.
Yeah.
We learn, right? So if this is important to you, if sharing your information is important to you, if having better sales is important to you, if having better communications with your family is important to you, if having better relationships and communications within your company as a leader, as a C-suite executive in your company is important, if building a better culture in your organization is important, well, then what are you willing to do to become more effective at that? And that requires some training. It requires a little bit of additional reading. The one other point I'd like to make about this is when people are really nervous in front of other people, I think this is the reason they're nervous, because they're worried about what those people are going to think about them. And again, you mentioned imposter syndrome. They're going to think I'm a fraud. They're going to see I don't know everything. I don't know everything. I'll let you know that right now. We'll save us all a bunch of time. There's a lot of people in this universe that are smarter than I am. I just happen to be good at this. I'm really good at this, and I know that. But there's other people that are so much better at me. You know, Nev, you were setting up our studio today. I couldn't do that. That's not my skill set. Now, could I learn that? I could. That would be my time. So number one, you know, hey, what's important to you? And if it's really important to you, what are you willing to do to make that happen? Right? For me, when I first started speaking, I invested over $200,000 in my education as a speaker because I realized that this was something that I loved and that I wanted to share something. Like, as a chiropractor, I could help one person at a time. And I think that's a good thing. You know, you help somebody feel better, then they can interact with their family better. That's wonderful. Great. But as a speaker, if I get in front of a room of 4,000 or 5,000 people, you know, or some of the arenas that I've been in, when I get there, now I'm affecting thousands of people. And now my message and Lauren's message gets to be shared with that many people. Like, that is what fills my heart. Like, that's what brings me that passion, you know? So if you've got something that you know can help people and that and it brings you passion. When we talked about, you know, when you're worried about yourself, that's when the fear of public speaking comes in. Because fear is the anticipation of pain. It's the anticipation of shame. It's the anticipation of looking stupid. It's the anticipation of people judging you. Well, rest assured, people are going to judge you no matter what you do. However,
That's a
person
bigger
on
fear
stage
too.
is almost always seen as the authority. Even if you're not really good, you are braver than the person in the seat. And the people in that seat, anyone who's on stage who has the spotlight on them, automatically assumes the position of authority. And I think the biggest thing is once you stop worrying about you and start really thinking about the other people, those fears start to melt away. Now, that's psychologically. On the practical side, what makes it melt away is practice and education, right? Learning a new skill is not always easy. The first time you ever rode a bike, you weren't good at it. And by the way, you fell over and your father or mother ran behind you holding the seat, sweating until they finally let you go and then you crashed on the grass. But after a while, you got a little more steady and you were unsteady and then you got more steady. And now you don't even put your hand on, you can ride with just your feet. You just lean a little bit. Like the more we do something, the better we get at it. You know, I've got over 14,000 hours in front of rooms and audiences. 14,000. You get good at it, right? So for me, at this point, it becomes that second nature. But I'm no different than anybody watching right now. When I started, I was awful. I mean, really, really bad. And I felt uncomfortable and it felt weird and I felt like I was an idiot and I made tons of mistakes, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do, and I knew it was important to me.
What you said is like connect, convey, and convert. That convey is where I'm most involved right now in my head. How you say is more important than what you say, because that brings emotions in front.
Yeah, I say this all the time. What you say is important. How you say it is even more important.
It's way more
And
important.
that's all the time.
Yeah.
So what is the languaging that you're using? Are you involving them? Are you using language that brings two people into a conversation, or is this a one-way like lecture at them? And it's dramatically different. Just by using language, can you imagine that you can involve people in your conversation?
Yeah.
Right. And I just did it by saying, could you imagine? Just a phrase like that brings you into the conversation.
Yes.
And now, even if it's not verbally, psychologically, we're in dialogue.
Correct.
And that's part of that conveying part.
And that is the connection part also that we talked about, like how to computers connect and communicate.
Right.
That connection is important
The
for
back and
both
forth.
ways engagement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you've probably been in workshops. I know that I have, where it's just a lecture. And they never, it's like, if I wasn't there, that lecture would have been exactly the same. If there's an audience in the room, I want to know that the person speaking understands that and maybe at least acknowledges the fact that I'm sitting there once.
Yes. Yes.
So once would have been nice.
Yes.
And what happens is you tune out. I'm not important to this person. I don't feel important. And therefore, I don't feel good about it. And so that's not so great. Now, the other thing about conveying, you need to, when you're conveying to them, right? So if I'm conveying information to you, that convey part is the conveying part, and it's also the listening part, the back and forth, just like the communication between computers that you mentioned. But when you're conveying information from your part, that's where how you say it matters. How are you communicating with the person you're with? Are you communicating in a way that they can understand?
Yes.
And that's a critical element. Like how you say something really does matter. So if listen, I'm a doctor of chiropractic and I know all the medical terms and the language. From the when I first started practice, I would use large words, all Latin-based medical words, just because I'm a doctor and I'm going to be pretty cool.
Look good.
A buddy of mine, one of my best friends in the world, said, "Oh, you have doctor syndrome when you make everybody acknowledge that you're a doctor." And I was like, "Dude, you're so right." Right?
I call it cool looking syndrome.
Cool looking syndrome, right? The same thing. So and he was like, it was all ego. It was all about me.
Yeah.
And like, I thank him, I remember that moment, and immediately the next day, like I never introduced myself as Dr. Cummins in my office anymore. I would just go, "Hey, I'm Dennis." And they would all call me doc anyway, because they knew I was the doctor. They came to see me, right?
Yeah.
But I stopped using those fancy words. Instead of using medical language, I spoke to them in language that they can understand. That's where your use of analogies, your use of metaphors, your use of storytelling come into place. That all happens in that convey part of the process. And if you do it in a way that they can understand and they feel that it's authentic, that's the other key part.
Yes.
To be authentic, right? I'm not just going to tell you something because you want to hear it. I'm going to say it because it's true for me. And if it helps you, that's great. And if it doesn't, tell me what else you need and I'll see where else I can point you.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes to how can I be of service? Because service equals sales.
Yeah.
If you can serve that person and they understand it, then they'll buy from you.
I resonate this idea. Storytelling is most important, like to connect and to convey. How you convey, that is, we discussed, like this is very important. So that is what story is, and how you tell that story, the way you told story about your daughter, the way you tell stories to your audience, to your clients, that is what creates that connection. Forbes ran a survey to some leaders with them, and they asked for like some ideas, like what is the best skill, that one top skill everyone should have to grow up on organization ladder. They said like, okay, best ideas will be picked for publication. Yeah, it could be hardworking, bringing results, making profits and things like that, right? But I was convinced on all these ideas, although those are important for the business growth. Okay, I mentioned storytelling. I personally feel like it doesn't matter what the results are, but how you explain those results, how you compare with the past performance, how you connect it with external influence, internal challenges, or whatever, like if it is going low, going up, whatever it is, how you tell the story matters more than what the story is.
They're both important, right?
Yeah.
And the stories that you choose to tell are important too. Like, when I do that 3-day program, remember I said the first day is all about that first 5 minutes? Well, a large part of the rest is what stories are you going to include and how.
By the way,
you
this picked
explain.
my topic.
The big part is that storytelling. People always tell me like I have a lot of great stories. And I said that, well, the good news is I have a lot of great stories. The bad news is I earned those stories, right? So when I share those stories about Lauren, like a lot of those stories came with a really significant emotional cost, right? A lot of my greatest business lessons came from really costly business failures. You earn your stories. You don't tell your story. You earn your story. I have a lot of stories now. Which ones I choose to tell also is really important. So when you're interacting with another person and you know that there's something.
Yeah, there's a good point.
If I know that I'm going to talk to you a story about, let's just say we're talking about invitational selling. And I shared the story about Lauren's bracelets. Well, I'm not going to share a story about sailing. Oh, I went on a sailing trip. It was amazing. Let me tell you all about it, because it's not appropriate. It doesn't fit. So choosing the right stories to tell is really an important thing to think about as we're having these conversations and we're trying to move people through, for lack of a better term, we're going to call it the sales process right now.
Yeah.
But remember, we're not selling a thing all the time. We're not selling a service all the time. Sometimes we're just selling an idea. Like, Nev, I just want to convince you to have a similar thing. I want to get on the same page with what we're thinking about things. Maybe we work in the same company. We're working on the same project. We need to come up with a common idea so that we can all work together instead of against one another. So what story can I tell that would get us both on the same page so that we both understand the concept? In a company, the story that the CEO tells to the rest of the company has a tremendous effect on the buy-in in terms of idea, in terms of enthusiasm, and building the culture within those organizations.
We talked about connect, convey. How about convert? So what is the right time to convert? What is that moment of truth?
I don't know that there is an exact right time to convert. Like, we're talking about actually sales, right? We're talking about maybe selling something. The convert part is when we're talking about convert part, we're talking about decision time. When your customer, when the client, when the person on the other end of your interaction is ready to make that decision. And this is about, I believe the convert part is about empowerment, where I'm not trying to convert you. It's about allowing you to convert yourself to my idea, to my way of thinking. If you're a customer, you may have had dozens and dozens of options on how you wanted to move forward. Now you have to decide, are you're gonna go from one of those, or you're gonna convert your decision, you're gonna decide to go with me. And it's that self-empowerment allows people to move forward without resistance. When people feel pressured, when they feel like they're trying to be persuaded into something or shamed into it with that, or that FOMO, fear of missing out, when they feel all that, their defenses automatically go up. What I want to do is create a situation where it's your decision at that point. Hey, how would you like to move forward? And these are the open-ended questions that I talk about in the book. Hey, listen, based on that, what are you thinking? What would you think would be the best next steps? Because prior to that, you've already explained what other people do that have had success. You've explained what your processes are. You've because of your interactions, you've helped pre-handle objections that they've got, which is really important. Objection handling, we didn't even get into, and I doubt we have time for that today. But, you've pre-handled objections. You've put out all of your benefits. You've understood what their problem is. You've offered a solution to them. Like, the only obvious thing for them to say is, how do I work with you? So it becomes really easy, but you have to initiate that, and that it's just really simple. What do you want to do? The whole process boils down to really simply, it's this. Hey, Nav, I see you've got a problem. I can help because this is my experience. What do you want to do? Ta-da! That's it. It's like so amazingly simple. It takes the pressure off of everybody. I mean, the seller and the buyer. And it just allows this to happen organically and naturally. And you'll see that your conversion rates actually go up with this system.
as it did for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a framework in place, but you also mentioned practice.
Yeah.
And training, how to practice. Is there a methodology to practice? Are there tools available for that?
Oh, there's lots of tools out there. Everybody says practice makes what?
Makes you perfect.
Practice makes perfect. But it doesn't. Practice makes permanent.
Uh-huh.
Whatever you practice, you just get good at doing that. And if you got showed the wrong way and you do it the wrong way, you get really good at doing the wrong way. I found very often it is easier to work with new speakers than experienced speakers, because experienced speakers have already learned how to speak and they're very resistant to change because they're doing it that way, right? We are good at doing something to say that. Imagine we're all right-handed. Many of it. Yeah. Whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you have a specific handedness. We're really good at using that hand.
Yeah.
Then try to use your other hand for everything that you use your dominant hand for.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable and it's not easy. So what do? When I say practice, there's a few ways to do that. Number one, there's so many resources online to help you watch. There's YouTube videos. For now, you can copy and watch other people speak and try to do that. There are amazing organizations out there. There are Toastmasters groups all over the country that you could join, which are a great way to start into the process of getting comfortable in front of people and learning some of the skills and strategies. Then there's the National Speakers Association. There are speaker groups all over there. There are also organizations that are companies that will show you, how to be a keynoter and things like that. Do your due diligence on those. Let's just leave it at that. But then there's people that really know what they're talking about. And so if you start seeking them out and you start seeing them, you'll know. Now, by the way, people see or find who I am, Nav, because I'm available. Like, people can see me, they can find me. I'm on podcasts, I'm on radio, I've been on television. So they see me and that's how they find me. I'm about to launch a YouTube channel. So they'll see that and they'll find that. The structure for just general speaking, you find out where you want to go.
Yeah.
My specialty is in promotional messaging. That means you have something that you want to share with the world. Now, whatever that is, you want to help build your company and take them to the next level. You need to rebrand your organization, and you need to have everybody on board understand the new message, the new strategy, the new branding around it, and how we're delivering that to our customers. You have a service that provides benefit for people, whether it's in the medical legal industry or the pharma industry or the construction industry, whatever that is. You need to get that across. Well, there are specific steps that are involved with, the opening, what you share in the middle, and how you offer them, the call to action. Like, hey, what do you want to do next, sort of thing. There's a system for doing that. And there are dozens and dozens of pieces that go in there. They're not hard enough.
You want to refer to any name or two, what the frameworks are?
Well, there really are no there are no specific frameworks out there. Like, I have a framework that I run people through but that's my proprietary framework. So, that's what I teach at Building Your Business from the Stage, and I didn't want to promote that. Yeah. So now when we're talking about like, what do you do? The really simple thing is, number one, that open strong. Have a connection that is powerful and connected in there. Do that. The second part in the middle is, remember this. You don't need to overspeak. Less is more in most cases. Share the important things. Take the time to get to know what they're listening to. But when you're sharing your stuff, share the most important thing that you need to share. Don't overshare. And remember to focus on the third thing, focus on benefits. Focus on the benefits of what you do for them. So it makes it easier for them to decide, yeah, I think I do need to do this. And then the call to action is, how would you like to move forward?
The bottom line is just practice. Go out to those clubs.
By the way, you did a great job. You practice at home, practice in front of a mirror, record yourself, and then watch what you did and say, oh, I like that. I didn't like that. When you're doing it to yourself or talking into the mirror, realize when you feel uncomfortable, and then just ask yourself, all right, why did that feel uncomfortable? Maybe it's something you said. Maybe it was the word choice that you had, or maybe you were just unsure or unclear how you wanted to say it.
Yeah.
And then go back and revise, and don't worry about making mistakes. The biggest thing that I'll tell people is doing something is better than doing nothing. Just get out in front of people. Even if you are horrible at it, like I was in the beginning, even if that were true, and it probably won't be, but even if you were awful and horrible, the fact that you got up in front of a room positions you in a place of authority, and it will pay off. Don't worry about making mistakes. Be okay with that feeling like, I'm not sure I really deserve this yet. Because no matter how big you get, there's always somebody bigger that you wish you should have been or you think you should be at. Be okay with where you are, and be okay that this is a process. And just like riding that bicycle, you're going to get better the more you do it. So do it. That's it.
I'm feeling like this is a counseling session. I mean, you are training us, audience, me personally, like with such a wealth of knowledge today. I would say everyone, as you faced the challenge in the beginning, right? So everyone in the beginning of the journey have this challenge. So it means everyone has this issue, right? At some point in the life cycle, right? Don't compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 7, right? So they've been through that. So just practice. And yeah, I'm feeling motivated, Dennis. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge today and your time today. I mean, it's wonderful.
It has been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this episode. As I look back over our journey so far, I'm struck by something far more significant than our metrics. I'm struck by the caliber of the conversations we have built together. To you, our viewers, thank you. Your time is the most valuable asset you own, and the fact that you choose to spend it here. I do not take it lightly, and I do everything possible in my control to create the value content for you. At this show, we are not interested in winning the race for volume. We are committed to quality over quantity. Our goal is not to fill your feed, but to fuel your perspective. We are building a platform focused on big picture insights that actually move the needle in your life and your career. We are still in our early chapters, and I'm grateful to have you with us as we build something designed to last. Thank you for your trust and your continued support. If you value this perspective and our agenda, I invite you to subscribe and join us in building this mission. Thank you.